Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hit and Hustle from irishsportsdaily.com. I am your host, as always, Greg Flammang, and we have a special episode today. For the first time, we're going to get a Notre Dame commit on the show, which is a good timing because Notre Dame just picked up a commitment from Micah Bell, 4-star from the 2023 recruiting class, and it's obviously a big commitment for Notre Dame. It's their first cornerback that they've picked up in the class. They had one previously in Justin Rhett, but then he decommitted and since has committed to to Georgia, excuse me. So that gets them set off. He is the third commitment in 3 straight days. Cam Williams, 4-star receiver on Wednesday. Charles Jagasaw, who committed yesterday, is a top 100, top 50 caliber offensive lineman. And then Micah Bell today, where there's going to be kind of like an off day tomorrow for Notre Dame on Saturday. And then we're going to have a Rico Flores announcement and a Christian Gray announcement on the 4th of July. So it's I've been calling it Commit-a-Palooza on Twitter. And to kind of, I don't know about celebrate that, but it just seemed appropriate to bring on a commit in the 2023 recruiting class. So I'm about to bring on Drayk right now. And before I do that, I just want to say for everyone to subscribe if you can, irishsportsdaily.com. There's a ton of information going up right now. There's a Film Don't Lie analysis on Micah Bell. Jamie Ueyama, my regular co-host, he put up a bunch of information on Micah Bell. There's really good stuff there. We've got quotes from Christian Gray, quotes from Micah Bell. So there's a lot of good stuff on the site right now. So go check that out. But right now we're going to bring on Drayk Bowen. Drayk, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great. Thank you for coming on the show. And I know that you are in Cincinnati right now. You are in the midst of a baseball tournament. So we talked a little bit before about how it went before the show started. So why don't you tell us how the games went today?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. The first game we started out pretty hot and then kind of cooled off, got a little lax, and got a couple runs scored on us. And then the next game we came out hitting, and put up like a 12 spot or something like that. So we did much better the second game.
Yeah. So you are. This is a travel team, you told me. And what position are you playing right now? I know you played first base for your high school team, but what position are you playing right now?
So they kind of have me all over right now. Like today, I played right field. The other day, I played shortstop. I'm sure I'll play third and second at some point. So kind of just all over wherever they need me.
It's kind of befitting, actually, that you're doing that because when you watch your football film, it's kind of similar, right? Like you're playing running back, you're playing inside and linebacker, you're playing in the slot, over the slot, doing all sorts of different things. You've got you on defensive end, that sort of thing. Is that kind of your calling card, just versatility in all sports and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So that's just kind of how I've always been. I've been able to play really everywhere just because I'm big enough to play certain positions, and then I'm also athletic enough to be able to play like in football skill positions and in baseball like those more athletic twitchy positions.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about your schedule right now, because I remember when I was going through high school and everything and playing multiple sports. It was like waking up every day at like 5:30. We would have 6 a.m. run and lift. Then in the afternoon, we'd have like field work or 7-on-7. And then at night, I would do summer league basketball. So what is your schedule like just on kind of like a general day?
So I'll wake up. If I don't have baseball, I'll wake up. Do most of the time I'll do a work at home, and then ready for football. I have football from usually for 3 hours. So we'll do lift and then on field work, and then I'll come home. I'll get ready. I'll be done for the day with that. And then well, part of that too. I also have a math class I'm taking right now, so I can graduate early. So usually I'll do that in the morning before football. And then if I have baseball, usually it's traveling a lot. So we go to Georgia. We leave on the 6th for that. So we'll be in Georgia for a week, and so during that time, I'll find a place to work out, either at a hotel or at a gym or somewhere. So yeah, it really never stops, either game, workout, or football practice.
So yeah, so extremely busy.
Yeah.
The fact that you're doing this from a hotel right now, like I really appreciate that. That was very cool. When I was texting you yesterday, I was saying, we could wait, if you want to wait till you get home, but you would had no problem with it. So, again, I appreciate you coming on and talking about that. I want to talk about a little bit about your, I guess, come up as an athlete, right? So we were chatting before you started, t-ball and football around the same time, like 5 and 6 years old. And were those like the two sports that you just kind of gravitated towards, like right away? Like, did you dabble in anything else, or was it mainly just like baseball and football?
Yeah, so right from the start, that was kind of the two that I don't know why it was, but I just love those two right off the bat. Toward the end of elementary school, I played a little basketball, but my dad taught in Chicago when Jalil Okafor went to school, and so
Okay.
their whole team was really good and all went somewhere. And he's like, "Yeah, you're not going to be 6'6", 6'7", and you're not going to play basketball." So he's like, "You do that for fun, but you're not going to do anything in that." And then I also did wrestling a little bit in track. Um, I stopped track just because it was during baseball season, and
Mhm.
then wrestling I just never got into. So it was always just football, baseball for me.
Okay. And when was it that you kind of got to the point where, and I guess this isn't like this for most athletes, right? So most athletes, they have their sport and then they kind of pick it. And I know that you committed to Notre Dame to, play football, but you're also, I think you're also going to be playing baseball at Notre Dame. Is that correct? Or at least that's the
Yes,
plan.
sir. Yes,
Right.
sir.
So when did you kind of come to the realization that I'm a D1 athlete, and B, like I can be a D1 athlete in both of these sports? Like when did that kind of become like a real reality for you?
So it was really for football. It was really I would say my sophomore year.
Mhm.
Just I don't know what had happened. I got really big in the off season. I gained probably 20, 30 pounds. So I was playing at 210, playing outside backer, and being able to really do everything. So that was really when I kind of realized that I could do something more. And then coaches started calling me, and that's when everything really took off. And then I would say for baseball it was last year, because I talked to a couple schools my freshman year for baseball, and they were like, "Oh, we're just waiting on football," because they knew I wanted to do both. And so once football took off, that's when just the baseball calls and schools started actually looking at me. That was when I really took off in baseball. My summer last year was probably one of the best summers I've had ever. So that was really when I knew I could do both at a high level.
And so you said you gained, 20, 30 pounds. Was that on purpose, or did it just kind of happen? Like, did you change your training regimen or anything like that? Or was it just like, oh, you did your normal workouts and suddenly it was just like, it was paying off like really quickly?
Yeah, so after my freshman year and then during COVID is when kind of I changed a lot of things. I changed my nutrition plan, my workouts, and so those were the two. My water intake. That was kind of when I started, making sure my nutrition was right, and then I changed my workout regimen completely. I started doing more conventional, I guess, stuff like that, like high rep, low weight, stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then once I was able to do more, it just increased a lot because just, I could already do a lot of weight, and then, being able to do more reps and having the right nutrition. So I would say I was eating probably 7,000 calories a day, working out almost every day for, 45 minutes to an hour, and then doing other stuff, whether that was running or speed work or something. And so that was probably the biggest thing, was I learned nutrition and workouts, and so it just kind of naturally happened, I guess. But it wasn't like forced or anything.
Right.
I didn't try to make it happen.
So when you say you were paying attention, like were you counting macros and stuff like that, like your proteins and carbs and fats and all those things?
Yeah, because I had talked to me and my dad had talked to a couple people, and they
Right.
kind of told us how the nutrition things work, and so I had a target kind of weight in mind, and they were like, you need to have that much protein in a day, you need to do all this stuff. So that was kind of when I learned how to do all counting macros, calories, all that stuff.
So that kind of sounds like a little bit similar to like Kyron Williams, right? So Kyron Williams, when he was a freshman in 2019, he I don't want to say he was overweight, but he wasn't like as fit as he was like when he came back for his I guess the 2020 season, the COVID year. He was a completely different player. He completely shifted his body. Um, and it sounds like you had like kind of a similar experience. But he kind of he trimmed down and just like you bulked up. Do you think that that would have happened without the COVID break? I guess not to say that it was like a blessing or anything, because COVID was obviously very tough for all millions of people. But in turn, it's just like you took a situation and it gave you an opportunity to focus on nutrition. Like, do you think that would have happened without that kind of situation?
I think I would have maybe learned to do different stuff like workout and eating and stuff. But I think it would have been a lot harder had baseball season happened when it did. Because
Hmm.
really, when I started just shooting up in weight was during that kind of spring season where high school baseball would have been,
Hmm.
and so that would have definitely challenged being able to work out when I needed to, how much I needed to eat, stuff like that. So I think kind of that being taken away and summer ball being pushed back really helped with everything, and me kind of being able to adjust and start eating what I need to eat.
Oh, okay, interesting. So around this time, you're a sophomore, you said, and you started getting calls from coaches. I assume you're getting a ton of mail, right? Like the mailers and everything. That's something that I went through, right? So okay. So you're like what it's an A level recruit, like so like a top 100 caliber player, and I was what you would call like a C level recruit, right? But let me tell you, C level recruits, okay, still get the mail, and I have a whole like box of just mail from like every West Coast team. So I live in California, right? So every West Coast team was sending a ton of mail, so I'm sure you were getting that as well. And when was it that Notre Dame entered the picture? Okay, first, when was it that Notre Dame entered the picture, and is that the school that you were really hoping? Like, what school were you really hoping would enter the picture at that point?
So Notre Dame really entered December of my sophomore year. That was the first time I talked to them. I knew like JoJo Johnson and his dad had helped me, and they kind of talked to the coaches a little bit about me. But that was the first time I specifically had talked to them, and that the first time was when they offered me. So that was when they were first kind of coming in. So I would say the team that I really wanted to was Alabama, just because I grew up an Alabama fan. So probably from the time I was 7, um, I started liking Alabama. So that was kind of my dream school, you could say. But that was kind of the team that I wanted to talk to. I thought that would have been a dream come true and get an offer from them. But yeah, so that was mainly the school that I wanted.
Okay, so 7. What year is that?
That was
9 years
probably
ago,
my
2013.
yeah, somewhere
Okay,
around there.
so 2013, 2012. So this is like around the time Alabama's been. So okay, in 2012, when Alabama's playing Notre Dame for the national championship, were you rooting for Alabama that night?
Yeah, I was. Yep.
Okay, and listen, don't feel bad about that, because I know for a fact that Kyle Hamilton was rooting against Notre Dame in the in their bowl game. So don't even worry about that. Okay, so that's like not uncommon. I am like that makes me curious though, because I always wonder what recruits feel about the program, right? Because my frame of reference for Notre Dame goes all the way back to like 1990. Okay. So it's like I view Notre Dame through a certain lens of all that history, right? But you obviously don't. So, you know, 7, 8-year-old Drake, like what was your impression of the Notre Dame program at that time?
I didn't really know a ton about them. I just knew that they had always been, watching Rudy and stuff like that. I knew they had always been like a respectable program, but
Yeah.
that was never like Notre Dame was sometimes on when we watched it, but it was always SEC schools and like that type of stuff because my uncle and aunt went to Alabama. My aunt's dad went to Alabama, and so their whole family they lived in Alabama for a while, so their whole family was Alabama fans, and we just kind of gravitated toward that. So it was really always SEC, and then I knew not a ton about Notre Dame, but I always knew they were pretty good in the football world and really respectable. So that was really what I knew. I didn't know a ton.
Right. And okay, so growing up in is it Maryville? Is that the city?
Maryville, yeah, that's where. Yeah,
How far away is that from South Bend?
hour.
Hour
Close
away.
to it,
Okay,
about an
so
hour.
so I guess what shifted for you then, right? So obviously you were recruited by, you know, SEC schools, right? Like I think who ended up being your finalist? I know Clemson was one.
Auburn and then Notre Dame.
Clemson, Auburn, and Notre Dame. All right, so Auburn, right? Like, so that's an SEC school, right? And I'm sure you've seen a ton of their games. If you're watching Alabama, you're watching a lot of Auburn. So what shifted for you?
Uh, so kind of going through the process, I learned kind of what Notre Dame had to offer, and then kind of what other schools had to offer. First of all, academically wise, because you know not everywhere it's the same competition, stuff like that. But Notre Dame is going to compete at the highest level, and so I knew that. So you can't like you compare those little things like that, but you can't compare competition necessarily. So I academically was a big thing, just because I came from a family that was teachers, so they stressed academics.
Right.
So I'd always done good in school, and then kind of this that locker room feel. I knew I would fit more into a Notre Dame type locker room where kids are trying to go get a good degree. They're going to class. They're doing everything they're supposed to do in the classroom, along with the athletics. Whereas maybe at SC school, you don't really get that necessarily. Was one of the big things in my recruitment, just because people like me and my family knew I was not just gonna go away from my academics, not go to class, stuff like that, and just focus on football. So that was a big thing, and then I just loved Coach Freeman and the staff, and it was also close to home, so I could be able around with my brother and sister, and then my new baby brother.
Great, great. I want to specifically narrow in on Coach Freeman because for me, the juice that's going around Notre Dame recruiting right now is eh, unlike anything that I can recall in recent memory, right? So there was a time, and I don't know if you know this, but like in like a 1995, okay, Notre Dame pulled in, what would be considered now like a top class. Like they signed a player similar, kind of similar to you actually, in Corey Minor. He was the USA Today Defensive Player of the Year, and they signed Randy Moss that year, and he was the obviously the Player of the Year for offense too. But that was the type of school that Notre Dame was like recruiting wise at the time, right? Like they're pulling in Randy Moss and they're pulling like Allen Iverson. If he had played football, he wanted to go to Notre Dame and that sort of thing. And right now, I feel like Notre Dame is kind of gaining that momentum, and I feel like Coach Freeman clearly is a driving force behind that. Like, what is it? And you know, you come from a family of teachers. Like I am a teacher myself, so I know I can kind of sense when someone has a gift for being able to reach young people. And I feel like Coach Freeman has that. What was it for you that just kind of like he knew how to kind of get to you and kind of how to relate to you and that sort of thing and made you want to pull the trigger for Notre Dame?
So really, it was just that he got to know me really well. Like I didn't always want to talk about football just because that's what everybody around my area wanted to talk to me about. They always wanted to talk about football, baseball, whatever it was, and he kind of just separated the football from me being a person. He'd want to get to know me on a level that most coaches didn't really know me on. Yeah, he always brought in football maybe a little bit or somewhat, but he always asked about my family, asked me how I was doing, what was going on during my day, stuff like that. So I would say that was the biggest thing with him is that he really got to know you on a deeper level and kind of wants to actually know about you, learn about you, and not just see you as a football player to go get wins for him.
Right. And it's if you're someone who follows recruiting like I do really closely, you would have noticed that you're someone who's very active with I guess the other recruits in the class, right? So, committed players, uncommitted players, that sort of thing. What is it about you and your, I guess, I don't know, upbringing, personality that drives you to be at the forefront of, I guess you're one of the faces of the class, right? Like as soon as you committed, and this was last November that you officially, committed publicly, um, you've been kind of like one of the, you're on campus all the time. You're always around events. You're always, on Twitter and that sort of thing and communicating with other players. Like what about you made you want to get on the forefront of that sort of thing?
So before I committed, the coaches had talked to me about being kind of that face of the class a little bit, just because I'm super close to the campus, so I could get there for anything that they wanted me
Right.
at. I'd be at most of the games. I'd be able to talk to recruits. I could go like even on the official visit, just go up there for a day or a night and just hang out with everybody. So that was a big thing that they wanted me to kind of be able to do. That's why they didn't push me to commit early, but they wanted me to if I was going to commit to trying to commit early a little bit. And so, but it kind of just worked out that I was already done with the process and I had known what I wanted early enough for them. So that was a little bit of the reason. And then just I was not one of those people that was gonna kind of toy around and do whatever. Like my parents said, if you're committed, you're committed. You're not decommitted. So I had known and I bought into Coach Freeman and the program. So that was another reason is I bought in. I know what they can offer to people, and so that's why I want to help as much as I can bring this class to the top and put Notre Dame back where it should be as top of the college football playoffs, so championship.
Right. Well, um, as I talked about before I brought you on, Notre Dame picked up another commitment today from Michael Bell, top 150 caliber cornerback from Texas. And you mentioned bring Notre Dame to the top. That brings your class back to number one on 247's composite rankings, which has to feel good. So tell me about like how it goes on a commitment day, right? So like obviously, we've heard a ton. We always hear about there's like a group text and everything. Like how does that look on a day when someone is going to not necessarily commit to Notre Dame, but is going to announce and they're one of the finalists? Like what does that look like on your end?
So yeah, I'll find out whenever the dates are, and so kind of I make sure I have free time to watch. Even if they're not going to Notre Dame, if Notre Dame is one of the finalists, I make sure I can watch unless I have a baseball game or practice or something. I try to make time so I can be able to watch, especially if they're committing to Notre Dame, because I want to support them. Either way. Like me and Sonny
Right.
Styles are still really close, even though he went to Ohio State.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. I want to see you succeed, even if it may not be at Notre Dame. So kind of that relationship part, I want to still build that relationship. But yeah, I just try to make time during my day for whenever the time is, and I'll watch either if it's on CBS, I'll watch it, or if they're going on live or something like that, I'll make sure to watch it and then congratulate them after, and then just kind of if it's commit to Notre Dame, it's maybe a little different. I'll go a little celebrate a little more, have more of the day. We'll talk to them in our commit group chat, add them to some different stuff that we have, but then kind of just carry on with my day a little bit.
Are you? I don't know how to ask this question. Are you like the main hub for, I guess, all of that stuff with the team? Because and I'm gonna ask you why I think that might be the case, because so watching your highlight tapes, right? Or they're like your highlights, like you like we were talking about before, you play a ton of roles. And your team, I think went 15-0 this year, is that right?
We lost 3 games. So we were like 12-3, I think.
Oh, okay, 12-3. Did you guys end up winning the?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the 3 losses we had were in our regular season. So 2 we went. First game was a loss, and then third game, and then our last regular season game was a loss.
Okay, but in the playoffs, you guys ended up winning the championship, right?
Yes.
Right.
Sir.
Okay,
Yes,
that's what I remember. So, okay, so you're a part of a championship team, and when you are, you're playing offense and you're playing, defense and have a lot of roles on defense, like that takes a certain amount of, like, especially as a junior, like that takes a lot physically, mentally, right? Because you're literally at the focal point of kind of everything that's going on. And in my opinion, that shows kind of a lot of like mental fortitude on your part. And it shows a certain amount of leadership, right? To be able to carry that and to actually carry the team on to being like a championship team. And so in that sense, it doesn't surprise me that you would be, the type of person that would want to bring in, to be at the forefront of like recruiting other guys and that sort of thing. Is that so? So is it fair to say, like, would you be like the main hub for like all the recruits and everything? Like you're kind of at the center of all that stuff?
I would say, I mean, a little bit, I guess, yeah. But I'd say, like, each commit maybe has a different, relationship with another recruit. Not a ton of recruits to Notre Dame right now are coming from Indiana, so I have to kind of go out and make relationships or see them at Notre Dame. Like I got to talk to Christian. The first time I met Christian Gray was at Notre Dame, and then I got to talk to him a little bit over text, and then got to see him again at Notre Dame on his official visit. And same with Rico Flores. So stuff like that, I get to mainly meet them at Notre Dame and then get to talk to them. Just either find their Instagram or maybe somebody sends me their number or Snapchat or something like that, and I'll be able to talk to them. But I would say a lot of the commits have different relationships, so they can maybe talk to somebody different. But I would say we all kind of do a little bit of our part to try and help the class.
Right. Okay. And so, it's speaking of your commitment, it's kind of a funny story. So you told the staff like USC week, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So I was at that game and I was there, and I know you have a good relationship with my colleague Matt Freeman, right? So
Yes,
you told the staff that Saturday, and I saw Matt on Friday night. And yeah, and I think it was that day you had kind of tweeted out like when your commitment announcement was. And so I was talking to Matt, and he says, "Oh, I got something to do like tomorrow morning," like kind of cagey, right? And so I pulled up your tweet, and I was like, "Did that have something to do with this?" And he looks at the tweet, and he says, "No." And that man lied to my face. He lied to my face, and he had already talked to me about working for ISD. I didn't know ISD at the time, but he was already talking about that. And he told me no, and he lied to my face. And I asked him, and I was like, what the heck, man? Why didn't you just tell me? Like, I'm not going to say anything. And he knows I won't say anything. He's like, hey, I said I wouldn't tell anybody, and I didn't. So that's a little story about our friend Matt Freeman for you. So all right, so we'll wrap up here, but I have a couple of like kind of quick fire questions for you. A couple of my buddies that I had a podcast with, they wanted me to ask you, what is your preference, tacos or burritos?
Probably tacos.
Tacos. Okay,
Yeah.
that's going to be controversial for them, but that's fine. Do you have a certain like type of protein, right? So like chicken or steak, carne asada, pollo asada, anything like that?
Steak. I really like steak. That's kind of my
Okay.
go-to for anything.
All right, he's a steak guy. All right, what's better, hitting the ball on the screws, hitting a home run, or popping someone like that? You know how you hit someone and you get there's like a click to it, like you almost don't even feel it. Like which one of those two feels better?
I would probably say popping somebody just because I can, maybe hit one on the screws a couple more times than I could pop somebody like that. So I'd probably say hitting somebody pretty hard.
Okay. In your mind, I guess, do you consider yourself more of a baseball player or more of a football player?
I would say that kind of depends whatever season it is. So kind of right now I put baseball first over um, really anything. So I would kind of consider myself more of a baseball player right now. And then during football season, I would say more of a football player. So just kind of that split of seasons is kind of whatever I gravitate to more.
Okay, so I totally understand that because I was exactly the same way. That's pretty funny. Matt wanted me to ask you a question too. All right, who is better baseball player, you or Dilly Dilly?
Um, I would probably say me, but he's doing pretty good right now. So I don't know. We'll see.
Who is Dilly Dilly? Inform us.
He's my little brother, so he's
Right.
15. He's playing baseball right now. He's going into his freshman year.
Okay, what is he? Is he like a pitcher? Is he an outfield? What is he?
He's a shortstop, so he's a middle infielder, but mainly plays shortstop.
Okay, all right. Well, good then. You can't. Is he on this travel team right now?
No, he's on his. He plays for the Indiana Bulls too. They're in Indianapolis or Kokomo, one of the two. So he's on his own team for 15U, I think.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, you can't let your little brother have that. You need to tell him that you're the better player for right now, because once you move on and then he's gonna be like the big man on campus and that sort of thing, and if it's high school, he's gonna get all excited when you're not there. So you gotta hold the throne while you're still around. So well, listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I don't want to keep you too long because I know you had a double header today. And you probably have some games tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, we have one at 6 tomorrow night, so
Okay.
pretty good day off most of the day. So
Good. Yeah, you got a day off. You know what? You need the day off too because there's no commitment announcements tomorrow, so everyone gets a day off from that. And like I mentioned before, Rico Flores on Sunday and Christian Gray on Monday. So, well, look, man, if I don't talk to you, good luck this off season. Good luck when the season comes up. And you said you're taking math, right? So that sounds like you're gonna enroll early at Notre Dame.
yes, sir. Yep.
Well, good, man. Good. We look forward to that, and stay in good health. Good luck with everything. And once again, I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right, absolutely. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right.